Redditors who freaked around and found out. What did you find out?
Experience 1. Decided at the tender age of 8 or 9 that I was immune to poison ivy since I spent quite large amounts of time outside and had never once gotten a rash from it. Since I was a born scientist, apparently, I decided to test this by rubbing egregious amounts of the plant all over my upper body. Needless to say, I was not immune. In the slightest. Experience 2. I was late for work and starving. The chicken I pulled from the fridge for a quick dinner smelled a little weird. But it was organic, and I had roasted it myself, so it must be fine. So very freaking wrong. 18 hours of pure hell. I would have gone to the hospital, but I literally couldn't get off my bathroom floor. Fainted twice and ended up with a black eye from hitting my head on the toilet. Experience 3. Repost from a while back, but still resonates with your response to my core. Ate a steak quesadilla that didn't taste right even when I was pissed drunk. But again, I was pissed and drunk and didn't really think about it. But maybe I should have thought about that a little better. Woke up the next morning throwing up. Okay, I thought, owing it up to having had a few too many the night before and what I thought was just a normal hangover. But then I kept throwing up. Over and over and over again. I couldn't even hold water down. Suddenly the thought of the steak quesadilla from the night before alone made me run to the bathroom. I ended up laying in the grass in my backyard just throwing up in one spot for a few hours at like 4 to 5 in the morning. And then the sh*ts came. Suddenly I was in the bathroom going from sh*ting a jet stream to trying to throw up. At some point in time, I ended up sh*ting and throwing up at the same time, which made me thankful that my bathtub was so close to my toilet, something that I'd always hated before. I thought I was going to die. I literally couldn't even hold water down without throwing up. I went from 4 a.m. until 8 p.m. that day just throwing up and pooping. I threw up over 25 times that day and went to the bathroom over 10 times. Definitely shouldn't have finished that quesadilla. Experience 4. I was a teenager working retail with a guy named Steven, and I always just called him Steve. He pulled me aside one day and asked me politely if I could call him Steven since he preferred that. My smartass replied, "Well, I want to be called Gladiator, but you don't see me complaining." He just said deal and walked away. For the next 2 years, he only referred to me as Gladiator. Need help finding something? Gladiator here would be happy to help you. He would get on the intercom and be like Gladiator to the front desk, Gladiator, front desk. Learned not to be a smartass and never called him Steve again. Experience 5. I tried to break up a dog fight. Was holding my dog on a leash when an unleashed dog ran in and began attacking him. I went for the dog scruff to try to pin him to the ground while also trying to hold my dog back with the other hand. The attacking dog bit my hand 3 times quickly. The third time he punctured my thumb bones and got a real good grip. Proceeded to try to rip my thumb off. All I remember thinking is, that's my primary hand. Even if I let go of Fitzy, my dog, with the other hand, you are not going to be able to pry this thing's mouth open. This was all, of course, happening in the span of 5 to 10 seconds. Out of nowhere, my then girlfriend swooped in like freaking Batman from behind the dog, sunk her fingers into its scruff and her knee into the back of its neck, ripping it off me. Anyway, I ended up proposing to her after that, and the settlement paid for a big chunk of our wedding. In retrospect, I'm damn glad this thing went after me. It was a 4th of July party and there were little kids everywhere. What makes me angriest about this whole thing is the way it impacted my dog. He was very social and friendly with other animals before this, but it has been 10 years and he won't give any other pup a chance now. He has lived a life lacking what he deserves due to those poor dog owners. Experience 6. It was a hot, sweltering day and I wanted to get my bike fixed. Played outside all day as kids do and didn't hydrate enough. Walked to the bike shop in the late afternoon, got my bike fixed and felt faint walking back, but thought I'd be okay after drinking water. Came home, drank some milk then some water. Immediately puked everything and then some more. Everything I'd eaten since the morning, not much, was in the commode. My stomach hurt and my face went pale. Went and lay down and puked in a few minutes again, but only bile came out. Puked bile every few minutes for the next hour until my father came home and saw me weak and pale. Went to the doctor and he said I'd been severely dehydrated, barely away from hospitalization. Put me fluids for some time. If my dad hadn't come home when he did, I don't know what would have happened. Drink water, folks. Experience 7. When 18, I was vacationing in Mexico and my family went to this horse riding attraction. Next to the horse handlers sat this cute little weasel who happened to be missing one of his paws. I foolishly assumed he was some exotic pet that belonged to the handler given how close he was, and I figured he wouldn't have been able to survive his injuries. I reached down with the intention to pet its head and scratch his ear the way I used to do so with my sister's pet ferret, and it chomped deep into my finger. I was lucky I didn't get any disease from it. The horse handler didn't know a lot of English, but from the look on his face, he probably thought I was one of the biggest pendejos he's ever seen. It was so. Experience 8. As a young girl, I used to kick boys in the shins when they annoyed me. One finally kicked me back. That crap hurt more than I expected, and I stopped kicking the boys. Experience 9. I once thought I could easily handle spicy food, so I challenged my friend to a hot wing eating contest. Turns out, my tolerance wasn't as high as I thought, and I spent the rest of the night regretting my decision in the bathroom. Lesson learned: don't underestimate the power of spicy food. Experience 10. I decided after my lithium gave me stage 3B kidney disease, nephrogenic diabetes insipidus, and lithium toxicity, that I would try to manage my bipolar 1 without meds because I was afraid of side effects and had already guinea pigged a freak ton of meds in the past. 3 or 4 months later, I wound up incredibly manic, in the psych ward for 3 weeks after having a complete breakdown and almost jumping off a bridge. The first week was voluntary, the other 2 weeks were involuntary. I ended up having to get sedated at one point. My boyfriend of 5 years dumped me, and I wound up having to take a train across the country, back home, straight out of the hospital because I had nowhere else to go. I should have listened to the tattoos on my knuckles that say, "Take meds," but no, I had to freak around and find out that I cannot be unmedicated. Experience 11. I decided to try heroin/fentanyl at age 40, out of curiosity. Loved it, and thought I could successfully chip it. Yeah right. Spent almost 3 years in active addiction. I just passed 1 year clean. Edit, wow. Well, I never thought I'd end up with a fetty habit, and I definitely never thought I'd get my 15 minutes on Reddit. I've been on here 8 years, and I think I started 2024 with under 100 karmas. I post/comment rarely and usually just read. I just thought I had a unique experience that fell squarely in the realm of freaking up and finding out. I never in a million years thought it would gain so much traction. When my phone started blowing up, I was kicking myself and kinda nervous about the incoming comments. Y'all, I got to say thank you. Not just for the encouragement and opening up about your own experiences with drugs and addiction, but for the respectful nature of the majority of comments and the genuinely curious questions. They made me feel safe to answer them honestly. Dude, that's cool. I know I'm an anonymous person behind a screen, but I am human, as are all addicts. Reddit doesn't always like to play nice together, but addiction is a human issue that we should all try to show some grace for. I'll answer anything I missed over the next few days. Because I want to be of service if I can, but right now I'm kinda dazzled by all of this, lol. Then I will probably go back to mostly lurking for another 8 years, lol. Take care, y'all. Experience 12. When I was a kid, I was short and fat and I got picked on mercilessly. Then one summer I went and worked in the Alaska bush and grew to 6 feet 3 inches and got pretty ripped. I also got taught some very basic moves from some of the surveyors I was working with. Came back to high school and got into it with every person who bullied me. I won and learned all the wrong lessons. A new kid started at my school and I was the asshole this time. He was always polite, walked away, and generally asked me to stop, but I didn't. Finally, he told me that he'd meet me on a Saturday, and we could have it out. We showed up. He asked one more time for me to just stop. That's the point that I should have realized I'd done screwed up. I went after him, and he took me apart. It was the proverbial he hit me with so many rights I was desperate for a left. But when he had me down, he stopped, helped me sit up, and then sat down to talk to me. He gave me advice on how I was acting, how I was just doing the same thing that had been done to me, and that I'd never be happy if I went down that path. Then he helped me clean up and sent me home. That conversation made such an impact on me, it 100% changed me overnight, and I owe it to him. I absolutely freaked around and found out, but in the best way possible. Experience 13. When I was 18, so young and impulsive, I went on a hike in the desert. Saw a snake coiled up on a flat rock right next to the trail. So, I thought, I should make that snake move out of the way. I know, I'll poke it with a stick. So, I found a long stick and poked at it. The snake looks up at me. I poke at it again, and it flips up its tail, and I have just enough time to register, hey, that looks like a rattle, when it rattles its tail at me. It was, indeed, a rattlesnake. Instant, full tilt, lizard brain panic on my part. I drop the stick and sprint back down the trail. If I'd been a cartoon, there would have been a puff of smoke and a trail of flames in my wake. Fortunately for me, my snake poking stick was longer than the snake. After I got my breath and saw the snake slither off into the underbrush, I said to myself, you know, self, that was a really freaking stupid thing you just did. You're damn lucky you didn't get bitten. Experience 14. Alcohol. I knew I was an alcoholic, but end-stage liver failure is for old people, right? Nope. Diagnosed at 38 and was going to die before turning 40, which is next month. Spent 7 months total of 2023 in the hospital. Can't even begin to type out the myriad procedures and situations I went through, including the bedside "There's nothing we can do for you now" from a doctor. Being told I was going to die, at least for me, was not that bad, but hearing my wife sobbing was. Thankfully, after a very long series of events, I got a liver and kidney. The liver failure led to kidney failure, transplant on June 25, 2023. For real, screw alcohol and screw alcoholism. No amount of help is too much help to get out of that situation. Experience 15. For my 40th birthday, a friend of mine, who was about 10 years older than me, got me a really nice 12-year-old scotch. Up to that point, I had never tried any type of whiskey or bourbon. Only was drinking vodka, gin, margaritas, and rum. Would only drink 1 or 2 Saturdays a month. It was no big deal. I fell in love with the taste, the look, and the feel of having a glass of scotch or bourbon every night, like the classy dudes in those old movies I grew up watching, so much so that I ended up drinking some every day and developed a drinking problem. I have spent the last 2 working hard on getting completely off alcohol. I can now say, as I approach my 50th birthday, I am off alcohol altogether.
We hope you enjoyed listening to today's stories. If you want to see more stories, check out these videos or check the links in the description for more videos. And don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. And ring that notification bell.